Hello, I'm Doug Johnson, and this is the City of Yuma Historic Flight, or How Yuma Kept Flying. Post-war 1949, Yuma saw a significant decline in military industry, and by that time, both the Air Base and the Yuma Testing Center have been shut down due to a rapid downsizing of the U.S. military following the Allies' victory against the Axis powers. In January of 1949, four local businessmen decided that a local endurance flight would help promote publicity for the city of Yuma and help get the airbase reactivated. Former Navy pilots Bob Woodhouse and Woody Johnward would be the pilots of the historic flight. The airplane, loaned by Claude Sharpenstein and Mickey Lorraine of the AA Amusement Company, was an Aeronautica sedan AC-15, registration number November 1156 Hotel. The plane was heavily modified by a local airplane mechanic, Paul Birch, from Marsh Aviation, to include extended fuel tanks, a hand-operated pump to transfer fuel, and the ability to replace the airplane's oil in flight. The flight would require over 1,500 in-flight transfers using the mostly unused Yuma airfield. Transfers would usually be at 06 and again at 1800 before sunset. Using a 1949 Buick sedan, the plane would fly at about 65 knots right next to the car and transfer supplies. Unlike most civilian planes at the time, a radio was installed to keep in touch with the ground and support crew, and former Navy radioman Charlie Weeks worked the radios for this flight. Airmail letters were even transferred to the aircraft during these supply runs, stamped and delivered back on the ground. This served as a time-stamped physical memory and souvenir of the flight. Finally, on August 5, 1949, at 07:15, the city of Yuma took off, and her wheels never touched the ground again until October 10, 1949. Everyone's life and the support crew and the pilots were put on hold during the next 47 days. The pilots planned to fly using 4-hour shifts, and during that time, the non-duty pilot would attempt to sleep, eat, exercise, hygiene, and take care of various chores required to keep the plane flying. On the morning of October 10, 1949, after conferring with the ground crew and the engine starting to run rough, the pilots decided to land. They had the record by several hours, and major fatigue had started to set in. The world was put on hold. The city of Yuma put the word out, and schools closed early, the school buses taking the children to the airfield so they could see this historic landing. Police cars, fire trucks, ambulances, and a doctor had been on standby the previous night in case of an earlier landing. Upon landing, there were between 12,000 and 15,000 spectators at the airfield, and the pilots taxied up and down the flight line so everyone could get a look at the aircraft. Of the greeters to offer congratulations upon stepping out of the aircraft were previous record holders Bill Barris and Dick Rydell. Total time for this historic flight was 1,124 hours, 14 minutes and 5 seconds, the previous record being 1,008 hours. Following the conclusion of the flight, Yuma was considered one of the 10 sites for the future U.S. Air Force Academy. Although not selected as this, Yuma Test Branch was reopened later that year as a desert environmental test facility, and the Air Force reactivated the air base on July 7, 1951. In 1959, the base was transferred to the Navy and opened on January 1, 1959, as Marine Corps Air Station, Yuma, Arizona. Thank you, fly safe, and fly Yuma.